time it is. Marvin Devine, Huber, Axel, and you know how we do. Yeah, I got the juice. Whip game cool, make them look like cool. Always play cool, that's the biggest rule. Forget what they doing, keep on doing. I've been making loot since like 22. Ask me how I made it right here in the booth. I'm always pursued cause of what I pursue. That's greatness, yeah, I gotta make it, I got things to lose. Boy, wanna get in my groove, but can't get in my groove. Me, Axel, and Huber, way too fireable. When this joint drop, better call the troops. And when you hear the drop, better raise the roof. Better raise the roof. You already know what happens when we link up. Let's go. Yeah, I got the juice. Yeah, I got the juice. Win game cool, make them look like cool. Always play cool, that's the biggest rule. Forget what they doing, keep on doing.
Nothing can stop me. No. 'Cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. So tell your good night,
What is going on, everyone? What is going on? Welcome back to the Locked In Podcast, episode 254. We're back in our regularly scheduled time slot here on Thursday, May 28th. As you guys know, if you guys were able to tune in last week, we chatted with a life coach and speaker, Nate Evans. Nate came on. We talked about how the blueprint that you set for yourself in your 20s did not account for the obstacles that you were going to face along the way. So we all have a mindset of where we want to be, or maybe where we wanted to be where we're in our 30s. I'm in my 30s. I think we all, maybe had a plan of where we wanted to be professionally, financially, in terms of like familial. Maybe you wanted to be married with kids, whatever it is. But we have to understand that we're running our own race. God has a purpose and a plan for everybody. And you have to run your own race. You can't compare yourself to where other people are. I firmly believe that God puts you in the right positions of where you need to be. He has a provision over your life. But we also have to be open to his blessings as well. But we also, this is what tonight's episode is going to talk about, is we have to also be open to where he's calling us. And sometimes that's going to require us to step out of comfort. So we're going to talk about this tonight. I am probably going to be by myself tonight. And that's okay. This is kind of a buffer episode in between next week's episode where I have a guest as well. So we've had guests on the last few episodes. This is a buffer episode in between. First and foremost, I hope you guys all had a great Memorial Day weekend. And for those of you who could rock out with us last Saturday, appreciate you. We had some good feedback on that episode, which was awesome. Mike, what's up, brother? He said, yo, brother, how are you? I'm doing well, man. Blessed to be alive, and God is genuinely good. So not too much to complain about, man. Life is life, right? We have our tough days. We have our good days. But I try to take every single day as, even the tough ones where we have challenges, there's reasons we go through everything that we face. So I can't complain too much, man. Another day above the ground is a good day. How are you doing, my brother? Appreciate you tuning in, so thank you. Appreciate that support, bro. How's life going? Yeah, so here we are, 254. As we dive into the last episode of May, which is kind of surreal. It's kind of surreal. It feels like New Year's Day was just not that long ago. And this whole year is flying by. So this is why I think it's so important amongst the craziness, family, career, business, the day-to-day, taking care of, the things you have to take care of as an adult, your goals, your hobbies, your health. Amongst all this, taking time to find time to be still, even if you have to get up a little earlier, even if it's late at night. Find time to be still so you can reflect, and don't take any of these days for granted, because I can tell you that I have taken days for granted in the past, and time flies. It really, really does, especially when you're busy. You have a lot of different things going on. The days move quick. Let's see. I have my notes set up for tonight, but I'm excited for this episode ultimately because I can resonate heavily with it, being afraid to take the next step in my life when I knew it was where God was calling me. So that's why I really like this episode, is because it requires me to kind of come on here, be a little vulnerable as well. And I can tell you that if you have ever struggled with this, I can absolutely relate to you. And everybody's situation is different, but I can definitely relate to you with the premise of being afraid. We all like comfort, and we like to kind of shrink back to what we know, what is familiar. But a lot of times we know when God is calling us towards something bigger, but we just don't want to take that leap. And what do? We procrastinate, we self-destruct, we self-sabotage. So these are real things that happen. And I can tell you, as someone who grew up with like ADHD, I procrastinated a lot. Procrastinated a lot of times out of fear of the unknown. And it's something that I really had to strengthen that muscle to work on. And it's not perfect. You know, how I try to frame it is everything that we're being called to go to the next step. Most of the time, the things that we're afraid of really aren't that scary. It's just kind of putting things in motion, building momentum. Stop building something up so much in your head that it becomes so scary. Once you take the action, you start to understand. You start to understand that it's not so scary. It just requires you to get your feet moving. Mike said, "Damn, episode 254 came a long way." Mike really did. It's crazy sometimes when I see people who have been like watching towards it since the beginning to see where we're at now. It's funny. I see podcast promotions come up, like on my stories from like on like my timeline, my time hop, right, or whatever it's called, memories. There you go. And it'll say I saw one today. It said 5 years ago in 2021, and this podcast has been going on for 5.5, almost 6 years. As you know, Mike, I started it with George. I just spoke to George this morning. Me and George are, still friends. We just kind of parted ways in terms of the podcast, but I still talk to George, and he's going to come on for an episode soon as a guest, and but yeah, me and George built this summer of 2020, and we got it rolling around the fall of 2020, September 2020, and we've taken hiatuses, small breaks, things like that. But man, it's just I look back, Mike, at like where I started here with this podcast in terms of my energy, in terms of my preparedness, in terms of all different things. I actually have the first episode ever saved. George has it too. I sent it to him about a month ago. I found it, so it's not. It was not a live, so you're not going to catch the first episode on YouTube. You're not going to catch it on Facebook. It was actually. It is probably on Facebook, but you really got to scroll back. But man, I had it. It was a pre-recorded episode. It was not a live, so we had to post it to Facebook. And it's crazy how our energy was so different when we started versus when we became a little bit more experienced. But what I will say is I met a lot of great people along this journey. People that I reached out to that I had never met before. People that have reached out to me from across the United States. People, that I met through George. So grateful. Mike said I got the episode that I was on saved. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, that episode is on YouTube, so you can always find that. You're one of the first ones. I think you were episode. I don't know if you were in the teens or the 20s, but you were like somewhere around there. It was like episode 20 something or episode something teen. It might have been 20 something. But you see, it's 200 plus episodes ago. It was a long time ago, man. 5 years ago for sure, because it was like 2021. Appreciate you though, man. You've been supporting since the very beginning, so I appreciate you. Even if you take times not to watch, where you can't, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. I've had Ray on here too, which is cool. It's cool to see you guys support, man. So tonight, that's what we're talking about, kind of taking it to the next level. And the overviewing theme, I'll give through my notes with you guys tonight. And I'll look at Facebook too. I'll see the comments as they come in. But my notes here for tonight, our core focus. So the core focus of this episode, what are we trying to accomplish, right? And I want to break this down more and find be able to kind of define to you guys what our core focuses are more often. So the core focus is to transition into the next level of your career, your finances, your personal life, and overcoming the psychological and the spiritual friction that happens right before a major breakthrough. So I really do believe as a Christian, it's the enemy most times, right? It's our mind. It's the enemy is talking to us. It's trying to keep us from going after God's plan. As we feel comfortable, we stay in comfort. We stay in what's familiar, but we don't level up that way. The problem is that many believers mistake their fear and anxiety and imposter syndrome for waiting on God or practicing humility. It's genuinely not the case majority of the time. The mission that you want to kind of accomplish here is you want to shift your focus away from the personal insecurities, which is a lot of times why we don't go after it, because we're insecure. And we have to be honest with that. We have to face that. If you can face that, That's half the battle. You have to own up and be like, okay, I'm insecure. I am, and as you noticed there when I said the word imposter syndrome, so all imposter syndrome is you fear moving to the next level of your life because you fear when you get there that you're an imposter, that you didn't deserve to be there. And it's really not the case. You know, a lot of times people work really hard and they really do deserve to be in that next level, but they stay stagnant for so long because they truly feel like imposters. Like they have their own internal insecurities and doubts about themselves. And that's why I say that you have to work on yourself before any of this. Like genuinely put God at the forefront, lean on him, understand that the strength, it's not always through our own strength. It's through God a lot of times. And we have to lean on him. We have to trust in him. So you make that move towards your future and you just trust in him. And it's easier said than done, but it comes from as you build a relationship with God. I'm telling you right now, it takes work daily. Whether it's spending time in the Word, spending time in prayer, spending time in community around like-minded people. And it just takes time to talk to him, spend time with him. And as you do that, you kind of start, you start to trust him more, you start to have faith in him more. I've seen some people in the toughest situations pulled out by the Lord himself. Like it's just, there's no explanation for it. In just different ways, and it's really, really cool to see. So it's just we obviously, a lot of people, we don't all know the answers, but it's faith. It's just faith, you know. But what I say is you have to talk to yourself in a healthy way too. A lot of men don't necessarily do that. We just kind of move and we do it and we don't really think that much. But I'm telling you, you really do beat yourself down a lot as a man. A lot of times men don't talk. We talked about this on a podcast last week too with Nate, who's a big advocate for men with mental health, with his brand as a professional life coach and a speaker. A lot of men, they suppress. They don't talk about things because it's looked at as non-masculine to do that. And that's really actually not the case, but it's kind of what we've been conditioned to see is it's very unmasculine to talk about, you know, different things you have going on. But I'm telling you that you can be a masculine man who takes action, who's a provider, a producer, a protector. I like to always say those words, the 3 Ps, right? Because it's biblically it's what's talked about. So I'm just going off of what's biblically talked about. But genuinely, men are typically providers, protectors, and producers. It's really how it is. You can be that. But you can also have a balance of being able to communicate, be able to say when, hey, I'm feeling burnt out. How can we make this, work? And I am somebody who, for a long time, also pushed down all that. And I'm gonna be honest. If you would have asked me years ago, I will always say this: that if you would have asked me years ago, I would have said I'm not going to talk about what's going on internally. I'm not going to talk about what's going on with my feelings. And I'm going to be honest with you. I have dated women in the past. I've been in relationships. And a lot of women don't always understand this, but I used to at the time, my mindset was, it was flawed. My belief was, and I used to say this like in past relationships, I don't think men should be genuinely like 100% vulnerable with their woman because women lose respect for their man when they do that. So that's why you have your boys, right? You have the masculine energy around you and you vet some things to your boys. But when I actually genuinely look at it, a woman who truly loves and respects her man, she's not gonna lose respect for him for being vulnerable and being open. You know what I mean? There's a difference between being weak and being open and vulnerable. That doesn't make you weak as a man to be that. I think that it helps your woman actually grow closer to you. And every woman that I had dated that have ever said that to, they'd be like, why do you think that way? Why do you think that way? Do I think that there is a such thing as being like, not taking action, being overly 100%. But I think that, being able to be vulnerable and open with your woman, it allows her to grow closer to you. If she's like the right person, like I'm gonna be honest, there's a lot of unhealed people out here. So I'm gonna be honest, men, if you're with an unhealed woman, she's not probably going to respect you. She's going to walk away and leave. But I'm gonna be honest, that's a woman that you don't want around. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that people can't heal, but you meet people at the wrong time where they're unhealed and the red flags are there. I'm gonna be honest, then that's an unhealed person if they're gonna come to you and say, you're vulnerable, I'm out of here. Like, I'm going, you know what I mean? I think that's how that's how we're conditioned, because I believed it for a long time. But I've also met some really, really great women. They will not do that. They will not hold it against you. When you get into an argument or a fight, they're not going to use it against you. They're not going to throw it back in your face, and I think that's the thing, keeping score, right? I think that's a big thing. Like, a lot of men may have had trauma where they were vulnerable with their partner in the past, the next partner, whatever, and they threw it in their face in a fight, in an argument. That's completely not okay. It's not good for men to do it either, but for sure, like, I'm gonna have some comments. Like I said, I'm proud of you. I was just talking to my wife the other night about green holly. Yeah, bro, I cut off all the negative people and negative things out of my life. It's essential, brother. It's essential. I'm gonna be honest. Like, it's very essential. You have to cut out that negative energy, because I want to say this too. There's a difference between negative energy. Like, negative energy, you have to cut it out. If it's people that are just completely negative influences, you cut it out. Me and Nate were talking about this on the pod back on Saturday when we did our live stream. There's people that I haven't removed from my life. We're kind of going in different directions in terms of what we want, but I still am cordial with them. Like, I still hold space for them every once in a while, but I just can't have them, like, and I don't think I'm selfish for this, I can't hold space for them on a consistent basis, though. There's certain people that I absolutely do, and there's other people that I just can't. And I don't think it's ever selfish for us to be protective of our time and protective of our peace and protective of our space. There's people that genuinely didn't do anything wrong to me in life. They're not bad people. I don't think they're negative energy. I don't think they're energy vampires. I think they're genuinely good people, but we're just not aligned in terms of things, maybe like our goals or what we want to see. And you know what? That's okay. I can still hold space for them. I can still not break a friendship, over that. It's just about how much space I can hold for people, right? We have to be honest about the capacity that we have, because that's another thing. As men, we burn ourselves out because of that. We absolutely burn ourselves out. He said, I know the feeling, man. I keep a lot in. Yeah, I did for a long time. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes I still do, bro. I'm not perfect. I am not perfect by any means. I'm flawed. So, I do sometimes. It's just, I'm a lot better than what I was, but it's a process. He said, my wife is like that. She'd rather me talk to her than go punch and shit. Yeah, man, it's never good to punch shit, brother. It's never. I'm gonna be honest, like, those types of things, these are the types of things that happen when you suppress. You see it comes out in really, really violent ways where you implode because you're not talking about things. And you see, this is the problem that comes with it. It's good that you and her have those conversations, though. But your wife is right, bro. Your wife is absolutely right in terms of that. Yeah, it's for sure good for you to talk to her. And I know it takes time to let that wall down, but she's right. So when it comes to like being fearful of like leveling up, I just want to kind of dive into this topic a little bit here. The first section I wanted to talk about was the psychology of shrinking back. We shrink ourselves a lot of times to the value that we see of ourselves. A lot of times we don't see ourselves too highly. So when we don't see ourselves too highly, we shrink ourselves back. So we shrink ourselves back into a comfortable, familiar place, because comfort and familiarity in this short term makes us feel better about ourselves. But when you have bigger goals and bigger agendas, and God's calling you for something and you're not taking that action, long term, it actually doesn't make you feel better. But in the moment, it does. In short term, it does, because it's comfortable. What I would say is the trap of being overly comfortable, is comfort is the silent enemy of purpose. That is a big thing. I put that in the promo. Comfort is the silent enemy of purpose. So what it does is it's comfort sounds good. Sounds like a positive thing. I'm comfortable. And while doing things that are very comfortable aren't necessarily a bad thing, when comfort dictates your life to the point where it hinders you from going after those goals that you have, the purpose that God's calling you towards, it is an absolute silent enemy. That's why I say silent, because it goes undetected. It doesn't sound like a bad thing. We'll just kick back today. I don't want to get up early and hit the gym. We'll kick back. We'll sleep in. We'll have a nice big like unhealthy breakfast. Like, we'll chill. We'll scroll on social media. We'll take it easy today. I I don't want to go get that workout in. No, let me just order a pizza and watch the game. I don't want to try to move up in my life to the next level of my career because I don't feel like I'm going to be able to accomplish, or I don't feel like I'm going to be ready for it. I don't want to, have kids yet because I don't feel like I'm, and with this economy, I'm not saying that's, you should just rush into that, but I'm just saying there's sometimes where we are ready for things, but we sabotage it because mentally we're just not, we just are enjoying being comfortable. And that's where you have to kind of audit, right? Is it truly you're not ready, or is it truly just you're afraid? And that's what you need to audit. So the trap of comfort here is like when God calls you to level up, your brain automatically craves safety, which what does it lead to? Self-sabotage. We sabotage. Like I said, as somebody who grew up with ADHD and sometimes still struggles with it to this day, I have sabotaged myself with procrastination numerous times. Numerous times. I have developed methods that allow me to get momentum rolling so I can stay focused and I know what my triggers are and what are not, and how I can stay locked into my goals and what I'm trying to build in this life and where God is ultimately calling me, whether it's my career, my business, my finances, my relationships, my health, whatever I'm trying to build in this life. I have to own it though. And I have to be like, okay, this doesn't define me. How can I move around this? How can I navigate? We don't want to self-sabotage, but we're always naturally going to do it. I feel like you're never going to go your whole life without self-sabotage. There's going to be times where you will. Imposter syndrome in the kingdom is what I want to talk about. Feeling like a fraud. What is imposter syndrome? Feeling like a fraud when you get a promotion, when you increase your income, or you take on leadership. A lot of times we feel like we don't deserve it. That's imposter syndrome. And I'm willing to bet that somebody out there has had this. Drop in the chat, guys, if you ever had imposter syndrome, because I have. I absolutely have. Where you feel like you're not ready for it, where you feel like you're not ready for it. Which, maybe you're going to be a father. I'm not ready to be a father, or I don't think I deserve to have the blessings that God's bestowing upon me. I got this career raise, I'm making 6 figures. I'm making 7 figures. I just had my business take off. One's like you're waiting for the next shoe to drop because you're like, I'm not ready for this, or I don't deserve this. And that's a lot of times internally how we talk to ourselves. That's why I say you need to navigate your health first. I'm gonna be honest, if you can navigate you're going to be able to handle a lot of other things. You're going to be able to move forward and be able to have confidence in yourself, and you're going to raise your self-esteem. So what I say about your health is the 3 pillars. Your physical health. So you want to make sure your temple's solid. What do I mean by that? You want to make sure that you're exercising. You want to make sure that you're eating correctly. You're fueling yourself. You're not eating you're not eating garbage. You're not putting shit in your body on a consistent basis that's going to make you feel horrible. That's the physical pillar. The mental pillar, making sure you're taking care of yourself. You're auditing yourself. You're journaling. You're taking time to meditate or just reflect. Sit down and think, and like maybe write things down. Work if you need to. Work with a therapist. Like I said, I do bi-weekly. Once every other week. Just take some time for that. And it's spiritually too, the spiritual health. So that's what I mean, pouring into the Word of God, spending time in prayer, spending time in community. Maybe it's serving it if you go to church, serving at your church. Whatever it is, but you need to fill your cup in multiple ways. When you fill your cup from those spaces, I'm telling you that you're going to start to believe in yourself more. You're going to start to feel better. And then everything else kind of pours forward. So your purpose, your business, your career, your finances, the relationships around you, everything kind of grows. Your hobbies, your goals, whatever they are, everything kind of flows. So fearing your own potential. It's often not the fear. It's often not the fear of failure that stops us. Let me say that fear of failure definitely does stop you. When I put this in my notes, but what I will say is this is a thing that people don't talk about enough. It's the terrifying responsibility of actually succeeding and having to maintain that higher standard. Boom, mic drop. That is true. When I wrote this is like when I was taking my notes for this. That was really that's important to know. It's a terrifying responsibility of actually succeeding and having to maintain that success, responsibility falls on you, right? And a lot of times we're afraid of that responsibility. You look at people who are entrepreneurs, every single day is a grind. There's so many seasons where they've been scared, how they were going to pay their employees, how they were going to survive. A lot of the people that got to greatness, and greatness is a different definition for everybody. So make sure you're running your own race and not somebody else's. But it requires responsibility. But you want responsibility because as kingdom men, we want responsibility. You know, if you're a husband and a father, right? I know Joy always be saying, like, I be saying husband and father, so if you're watching, Joy. But husband and a father, you know, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. Now, you could shun from the moment. You could not decide not to be a husband or a father. You know what I mean? You could give up your responsibilities and like, I'm not going to do this. It's like, or you could show up as a kingdom man and show up to your responsibilities. Running a business is difficult. If you have employees, they rely on you for their income. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. But great men who want to be successful, who want to grow, it comes with responsibility. If you want a lax and chill life, there's nothing wrong with comfort, but in order to be great, in order to be purposeful, in order to be like following God's plan for our lives, responsibility is going to come with it in some way, shape, or form. Like I said, take your time, bro. I love my kids, but it's a lot of work. Things that scares me the most was having kids with the wrong woman, but I got lucky. I got the best woman in my life I had to have kids with. Yes, good, Mike. Man, it's just not a lot of people get to say that ultimately. So that's really, really good, bro. Yeah, no, I think the person who you marry and have children with, it's the biggest choices you will ever make. Because if you're with the wrong person, it can absolutely destroy your peace. It can absolutely dictate your life in different ways, you know. Who you marry and who you have children with. I always say for marriage, now my look on marriage at 33 is different than how I would have looked at it in my 20s. But I think that every couple can probably benefit from premarital counseling. And any couples I know that have done it, they've had successful marriages. So premarital counseling through therapy, your church, different ways, but having the hard conversations up front. Am I saying it's going to work 100% with that? No, but the statistics are a lot greater if you have the hard conversations. Figure out if it's really the right person for you. And a lot of people don't want to do that because say you've already invested years into the relationship and then you decide to have those hard conversations and there's real non-negotiables that you guys have not been talking about and it doesn't work out. Now you're afraid but here's the thing. I think the worst thing is to waste more time. I think it's good to understand these things before you get married than say you're together 10 years or 20 years and God forbid, like there was real structural foundation issues in this relationship. Now, if it went 20 years, you wouldn't think that it would have been, but a lot of people can suppress for a long time. You really don't want that. You want to vet all your options to make sure that like, okay, I've covered everything. So like, hey, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but hey, we're going to be in this. We're not going to give up. Mike said September will be 10 years. Congratulations, man. I will reach out and say, happy decade, bro. That's amazing. That's awesome. Congratulations, bro. Congratulations. Wishing peace and prosperity and good health for you and your wife and your two children, bro. Wishing you that, man. But yeah, that's what it comes down to is like it's responsibility. It's going to come with it. It's going to come with it, So now I want to talk about the biblical alignment of this, right, as I go through. Sorry if I'm like stretching here, guys. Like, I trained a lot this week and I like literally just trained like back and shoulders and like my whole like upper body neck area. I have to like stretch every once in a while to get blood flow because I'm kind of looking down at the camera here. So don't mind me if I'm just if I'm kind of stretching a bit. So looking at the pattern of leaders in scripture, the calling versus the comfort, right? God's calling versus our comfort. When God told Moses, Gideon, and Jeremiah, right, to level up or follow his purpose or follow their purpose, their immediate response, you can check this biblically, was to shrink back and list their securities. I can't speak well. I'm the least in my family. These are things that are literally in the Bible, like biblically. But this was real. God didn't argue with the limitations, though. He just reminded them of who was backing them up. And that's why I say that a lot of times you don't get through the strength of those tough seasons on your own. You get through it with God. There's things that we were not meant to always carry. And you have to understand that. A lot of times there's a fear of wearing a mask. So fear wearing a mask. So calling out the excuse of procrastination, saying, I'm just waiting for a sign, or I'm being humble, when in reality you're just stepping. All it is it's just fear of stepping out of the comfort zone. As someone who has procrastinated, this resonates heavily with me because I have done this a lot. Mike said, "I appreciate it, brother. Appreciate you, bro." He said, so it says, and this is one of my favorite sections, Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron. And that's why I had this in the promo today. So like literally with that logo, it's such an important one to me. You cannot level up in isolation. I really do believe the community is so strong when you're around like-minded people. True character refinement, it requires friction. Not everything's going to go smooth. And you're going to need those tough things, right? Those tough challenges, those obstacles, all those things that you're going to go through, you're going to need them to shape your character. We talked about this on Saturday. Those types of things will shape your character. True character refinement is going to come from accountability. It's going to come from putting yourself in the room with people who will push you to grow. And I think this is important too when you choose your partner. You want to be with a partner who is going to challenge you to be your best self. And Nate said this last week as a married man. You want a partner, not just friends, not just community, but when you marry somebody, you want somebody who's going to also challenge you to be your best self. They're going to call you out on the BS, and likewise, respectfully, lovingly, in a healthy way. You call each other out. You hold each other accountable. You push each other to grow. That's what you want. That's really where it comes from there. But Proverbs 27:17 is one of my favorite verses. It truly is. I'll give you the exact verse too, so you guys can have it. I want to get it right. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Fantastic. Really, really is. It's like really, it's just it's just really how it is. So it's so section 3, then we got the blueprint here. So the blueprint, I want to put you into action for you guys. So I wanted to walk through. We went through the biblical side of it. We went through the psychology side of it. Now I want to give you the actual practical side of it where you guys can actually use the lesson. So I already just want to refer back to what I had said, audit your circle. So that's really, really important. Who you're going to put yourself around. It's important. Me and Nate just talked about this on Saturday. You have to audit the circle. If you're not auditing the people you're around, then, you're not. Mike said, I'm about to hop off, buddy. See you next episode. Appreciate you, bro. And guy said, bro, you said don't waste time, but I'm wasting my time. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? Appreciate you, bro. I always appreciate you tuning in too, bro. What do you mean by wasting your time, bro? Talk more on it. Or you can message me privately, man, if you want to. But hey, man, we all waste time from time to time, bro. Don't beat yourself up too much, man. You're doing a lot. I'll tell you, bro. Like, I know me and you, we know each other from the park, bro. I see you sometimes, man. That's how we actually met. But, bro, I can tell you, man, coming here, building something for yourself, you do a lot, brother. I'm being honest. But yeah, man, feel free to talk to me more about it, bro. We all waste time from time to time, bro. I'm not perfect. This week has been a really productive week for me, but I'll be honest, there's been other weeks, like the last couple of weeks where, some days I feel like I'm wasting time too. I feel you, bro. We have to, it's us acknowledging it and then finding a plan to how are we going to be better the next day than we were the previous day. How we go around it. Take care, Mike. Have a good night, brother. Appreciate your support, man. So auditing your circle, are the people around you comfortable with your current level, or are they pushing you to the next one? I have friends in my life who do push me to the next one. I have other friends that are comfortable at the level we're at. I'm friends with both of them. They're not like the people that are comfortable. Like they're not bad people. They're friends too. But I have a mix. I have people that also like we're trying to, and that's why I say you don't have to completely cut people off who are comfortable. Some people do need to. They just can't have it both. I can. I'm not going to cut friends off who are just good, genuinely good men or good people because of that. But you do want to make sure you got people in your circle that are going to challenge you as well, which I have those friends too. So it's this action cures anxiety. The longer you sit and overthink a career pivot, a financial goal, career pivots and financial goals for sure. For me, big overthinker for a long time on a lot of them, still do sometimes. A leadership opportunity, the bigger the fear and the momentum grows. So I was actually just talking to one of my brothers who's leading a group at his church. And that takes a lot of responsibility, right? Say we're in our career, right? And we have a busy season of life. It's challenging sometimes to lead a group, right? We don't really know where we're going to be. And it requires you to show up every single week to lead that group every single week. And that's tough. Career opportunities, right? It's tough. Like, it just requires us to manage our time better. Like, we can't be using distractions all the time. We can't be doing this. Like, it takes a lot of time it really requires us to manage our time better. But momentum is built through micro steps of obedience. So you have to take the micro steps. What do I mean by this? Building structure into your life. So if you have a career, a high-powered career where you're making a lot of money, but you have a lot of responsibility. You have a family, a wife, you have children at home. You're going to lead a group through your church. You have to find time to get to the gym and work on your body and make sure you find time to spend time to work on your mental health, find time to spend time with God in the morning, find time to, do the daily tasks that you need to, errands, different things. Obviously, hopefully you and your partner can juggle that together and be able to tackle that. Have a game plan, but like these types of things, when you have a lot of things going on in your life and a lot of responsibility, it requires a lot of structure. Because if you don't have structure, it's going to be chaotic. When you have so many things going on, it's going to be very chaotic. I can tell you that. So, but action will cure anxiety. I think as you move towards things, I really do believe that it takes sorry, I should have shut put my phone on silence. I feel like I always get text messages like while my podcast is going on, or sometimes phone calls too. You guys have probably heard that. George used to get phone calls all the time. It's the enemy working. Speaking of that, when me and Nate did an episode last week for the second time, I had to reboot my computer right before it. The one time my whole Wi-Fi went out, and the first time he ever came on, I was like, the enemy really is working through those episodes. But the longer you sit and overthink it, the bigger the fear grows. So you have to try to just catch yourself when you're like overthinking it. Let's silence it. Because I'll tell you, like, I'll give you an example. Tomorrow, I have a lot of things that are on my plate, a lot of things I have to do. That I actually took a whole from my day job. I took a PTO day, but I'm not gonna lie. Today I caught myself. I'll give you guys a perfect example. I caught myself overthinking all the things I have to do tomorrow, planning out in my head, mapping it out, how I'm going to accomplish this, and this at this time frame. But I'm not building in the obstacles, things that could possibly happen. Let's go with the flow. Let's not go with the flow. Like, let's have structure. Let's wake up on time. Let's tackle these goals, but let's not hold ourselves to like beat ourselves up if we don't get certain things done. Like, let's just go in with intent, go in with purpose, and just stop overthinking it. Because overthinking things is going to lead to you not accomplishing certain things. So, like, I have a lot of things to do tomorrow, but I'm like, hey, we're going to go in this. We're going to catch myself. We're going to clear our mind. I caught myself in the car earlier. I'm like, all right, let's stop this. This is not productive. This is not going to help us. And I think that comes with ADHD too. Like I said, I don't have the ADHD level that I had when I was a kid because I manage it a lot better. But what I will say is it still does sit with me as I've gotten older. And I have to say, like, that it is like, building up a bunch of things that you have to do. And like, these are the types of things, but you have to catch yourself here. You can manage this and you can conquer this. You really can. I can tell you as somebody who does. And finally here, you want to shift yourself from self-focus to stewardship. So stop asking yourself, am I ready for this? And just start asking, am I being a good steward of the potential that God has put inside of me? Because we all have potential. And I'm telling you, there's something he's calling you for. There's many things he's calling you for. And there's a lot out there. You have purpose. You are of value. You know? This might seem kind of just like weird, but just kind of like honestly just put it kind of like won my heart this morning. Like I was in the gym really early this morning and I saw some guy come in. He had to been my age or maybe even a little younger. He might have been in like his late 20s. But the guy, he rolled in a wheelchair. So he's probably paralyzed from like the waist down. He's in a wheelchair and he's in the gym, like doing seated rows, like sitting down and lifting weights. And it's just like, it just goes to show that like, if there's a will, there's a way. God has purpose inside of you. And I don't know, that's something just small, but I feel like I was meant to see this guy in the gym. And, you know, he seemed like a real nice guy. And he was just, you know, it was cool to see that. Like, I don't know, like it just, people can give up mentally. Like imagine being paralyzed, like where you can't walk. I don't even know where I would be. Like, you know what I mean? Mentally, like, it's just crazy it's I don't know, like it just honestly, God has purpose for all of us. He really does. So you have to stop asking yourself, am I ready for this? And it's okay to ask, are you ready for this? So let me not say you have to stop it, but you just try to reframe it. Try to reframe it. Am I being a good steward of the potential he's putting me? Your next level, it's not about pride. It's about expanding your capacity to serve and provide people with different things. Any of my friends that are business owners, they tell me that any of the ones that are successful, it comes from the passion for the people that they serve. In the Bible, it's going to talk about as men, specifically men and women, but men, I'm talking on this side of it, servant leadership. Men are servants to their household, to God. This is really it. And I don't mean you're a slave. Like a lot of times men go, I'm not no slave. It's like, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about we lay our lives down. Like we sacrifice, we show up, we serve. But anyone I know that is like a business owner that's successful, they're successful financially from the passion that they have behind what they do and the people that they serve. He said, let me get this comment up. Mon said, I'm good. Thanks for asking. I mean, I'm not married yet, so that's why. Brother, I'm not married either. You know, I'm not married either. Do I want to be married? I do, and I want children. So, like, I'll say that live here. You know, but I'm not there either, brother. I actually appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing on here too, bro. I do. Yeah, man, we could definitely talk more. I'm not married either, bro. But you know what? God's timing for it for sure. Like, you know, I think a lot of times, do you feel? We can talk more, man. Sometimes I feel like we feel that way as we get older too, because maybe we see other people in our lives who are married and have kids. Maybe at the age that we wanted to. Maybe familial pressure from family, right? To have kids, to marry, to find a woman to marry. What I would tell you is run your own race. So make sure that like trust in God's plan for you, like and just understand that the thing will come. These things will come in the right time. And I think the worst thing that you can do is marry, like Mike said it earlier. The worst thing you can do is marry the wrong person, right? We don't want that. We don't want that. So Mike had said it here. He had said, I don't think I can highlight. It says having kids with the wrong woman, but it's also marrying too. Having kids with having kids with the wrong woman can honestly ruin your life. The same thing with marrying the wrong woman. So you for sure. It all happens in God's timing. You know, women the same thing. You know, if they marry the wrong man or have kids with the wrong man, it can really, really cause a lot of issues in their life. So we went through a lot here. Went through the practical side, went through the biblical side, went through the psychological side of it. I covered a lot of different things. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. I do want to put some prompts in here for anybody who's watching, if you guys want to engage in it. Comment below or drop a 1 in the chat if you guys have ever stayed in a comfortable situation or a job, something like a job or career, longer than you should have because the next step felt too intimidating. I absolutely have. Absolutely have. What is the main excuse fear is using to keep you playing small right now? Let's call it out in the comments. So if you guys want to comment below. If you guys have stayed in a situation, maybe it was even it doesn't have to be a career. It could be a relationship. Maybe you stayed in it to stay comfortable, whatever it was. I'm going to check Facebook here because I didn't have Facebook up, guys. I always want to make sure if we do have comments that I'm capturing them. Appreciate the like, Fran. Thank you, buddy. They don't know. Let's see. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, if you guys don't have any comments either, sorry. I just wanted to give some silent time for people to add in their comments as they go. I can tell you that I have. So even if you guys watching a replay, if anybody who's, I know people are watching live right now, but if you anybody, if this is something that is after the live, still comment below. I'll still engage, but I feel like a lot of times we stay in situations because we fear the unknown. We stay with people who aren't good for us. We keep friendships because we're afraid of removing people from our lives. The friendships don't serve us. The relationships don't serve us. We stay comfortable at a job because we know how to do the job, but we fear the unknown of making mistakes and going somewhere new. It for sure happens. It for sure does. This is why I say, though, it's you overcome it by 1, auditing your circle, by 2, not overthinking, but just finding ways to just snap that overthinking, snap that train of thought, so that you can just take the action and move towards it. And you shift the self-focus from self-focus to stewardship. When you think of it as God's looking at you, He's auditing your life. He's watching. Am I being a good steward of the potential that is in me? There's a famous saying. There's a saying. It's from one of my favorite movies, A Bronx Tale. The saddest thing in life is wasted talent. That's what Chaz Palmeri, Sonny in A Bronx Tale said. The saddest thing in life is wasted talent. And it's true. I believe it was Sonny. It might have been. Yeah, it was Sonny. But it's a quote from that movie, and I think it's really true. Actually, no, his dad says it too. So Lorenzo, aka Robert De Niro, played him. So his dad says it too. The saddest thing in life is wasted talent, and it really is true. It's the saddest thing to go your whole life, and then you're on your deathbed, and then you're thinking about what you could have done with the talents that you had. So just think about that. Am I being a good steward of the potential that God has put into me? Not necessarily am I ready, because we're not always going to be perfectly ready for everything. You can't prepare for every next step of your life. It's just not possible. You're never going to be perfectly ready all the time. It's going to be different, but you know what? You adapt. You can't always be perfectly ready. I have to tell myself that a lot of times. Guys, I think I'm actually going to wrap up here. We're pretty much at the hour mark. Appreciate everybody who commented in. Mike, Mod, appreciate you guys. Fran, thanks for the like. Everybody that tuned in, Joy, thanks for the support. Appreciate you. Just everybody behind the scenes. My crew here, Rich, Rob, Mario. Appreciate you guys. And just I just want to give special shout out to like I said, Nate Evans Jr., who came on last week. Nate has a group called Prayer Warriors Global. They're on from about 6 a.m. to about 9:30 a.m. You can call in weekly, Monday through Friday. If you ever want the information, let me know. Reach out to Nate. But Nate's a great guy. Nate also has Get to Worthy as his brand. A lot of great stuff going on over there. You can follow Nate Evans Jr. on Instagram, Facebook, all platforms. It was a really cool episode to chop it up with Nate on live on Saturday. That was awesome. It's definitely a difference. So now we'll maybe open up to more weekend episodes going forward. But guys, have a great night. Just want to say have a great weekend. Hopefully the weather looks like it's going to be nicer this weekend. It's still going to be a little chilly, but it's going to be nicer this weekend than it was Memorial Day weekend, unfortunately, which was pretty much a wash, at least if you lived on the East Coast here. Near like New Jersey, Philadelphia, it's pretty much a wash the whole weekend. So looking forward to some better weather this week. But guys, have a great night, great weekend. We'll see you next week for episode 255. We'll have a guest on with me. Can't wait to chop it up and jump on the mic. Take care, guys. And remember, be true and be you. Good night.